Hi guys, welcome to Short Skirts and Sarcasm. I'm Caroline and today I'm going to tell you about all the books that I read in February, and I'm going to go through them pretty quickly because I read quite a few. I read 15. These are in alphabetical order by title, and as you probably know, February is Black History Month in the US, and I did have a February TBR that was all Black authors, and I had a big deadline in January, like at the end of January. When I was finished, I was like, oh, this is time to read some fun books. I will get ahead on my February TBR, and I accidentally read like half or almost half of my February TBR in the last weekend of January. I read 6 books. So all of these books that I'm going to list it's not what was on my TBR. Like half of them are, and then half of them are like other things that I read in addition. And so what I usually do after I finish a TBR is I go on Libby, which is where I listen to like all my audiobooks pretty much, and I download some things that are immediately available because I finish everything I have. I'm like, I need something. I need something now. So that's what I do. And I also usually go through my Kindle backlog, which is a lot because sometimes Kindle have books that are 99p and my resistance is weak. And so I buy many 99p Kindle books, which is, you know, great, but also does mean I have a lot of unread Kindle books. So I like go through those and like, what can I read to bring this number down? Because I think I have like 300 books on my Kindle. Life is going well. And usually I'll also like see which arcs are coming up for publication and try to start those so I keep on top of them, because I do tend to like batch request NetGalley books, and then I'm like, oh, the publication date is in 3 months. I don't need to worry about it. And then it gets to like 3 weeks before I'm like, oops. So we're gonna go into the books. I read After the Quake by Haruki Murakami. I read it on audiobook, and it's a book of short stories all to do with the Kobe earthquake that hit in 1995. So all of these short stories were written between 1999 and 2000, I think. And I enjoyed them. It was just surprising because it's short stories, but they were all very short, which is what I like in a short story. And like the entire book was also short. So next I read Empire of Sentiment by Joanna Lewis, which is this book. Empire of Sentiment, The Death of Livingston and the Myth of Victorian Imperialism. And I mean, it's what it says. It's about that. And it explores the relationship between emotion and imperialism in Britain and Africa from the Victorian era to the present. By focusing on the iconic figure of Dr. Livingston, Empire of Sentiment moves between the metropole and Central Africa to reveal how his extraordinary death and extravagant memorialization down the generations helped to form a number of sentimental myths about being British in Africa. I really enjoyed this, and it really helped me contextualize another book that I will talk about in a moment. Next, I have Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, and I read this because my friend, who's also named Chloe, got it for Christmas, and she read it in one sitting, and she was like, you have to read this, it's amazing. So I was like, okay, I will. So I didn't have the book, so I put a hold on it on the ebook on Libby, and it came through, so I read it. I read it over I think 2 days. It was a quick read. It was very cute. It was very funny. It was very relatable, and I just loved everything about it. Next, we have another book of short stories, No One Writes to the Colonel and Other Stories by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And I liked this one too. I can't really remember anything about it apart from obviously like the No One Writes to the Colonel. There was a colonel in it, and he was waiting for a letter, and it never arrived. We have Out of Darkness, Shining Light by Fatina Gaffa, which is this book. As you can see, I have a lot of thoughts about this, and this is also about the death of Livingston. So after I read this, I immediately read this so I would understand it better, because this is a fictionalized account of the death of Livingston and the journey that his companions after his death took to bring his body to the coast, which was a 1,500 mile journey, and I think it took about 9 months. So these are both dissertation reads. And I loved Out of Darkness, Shining Light. I think even if you weren't trying to like analyze it for its historical significance, it's a really fun and really poignant read. Actually, some of this is from the perspective of Halima, who is a Black woman who barely gets talked about at all. It's a nice, like, restorative view of this part of history that was very important. Next, we've got Road 7 by Keith Rawson. This is an arc that I left to the last minute. It is coming out on March 7th, and it is about a dude, Brian, who's doing an anthropology PhD, who takes a break to go to Iceland with a cryptozoologist named Mark Sandoval, and they try to find a unicorn that someone has sighted, and it becomes thrillery. I do mention this in like my e-arcs reading vlog, so I won't talk about it further. Same with Skyward In by Elia Whiteley. This is another arc that I read during that reading vlog, and didn't really enjoy the first half, but the second half really got me, so I enjoyed it overall. Solid 4 stars. And it is about humans and aliens and what it means to be human, essentially. Next we have Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the companion novel to Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and Dani Brown is Chloe Brown's sister, and who also gets her own romance arc. And the third book in this series, Act Your Age, Eve Brown, is out, I think, this month in March, and I've pre-ordered it on Kindle, so I will be reading that as well soon. Next is The Guest List by Lucy Foley, and I read The Haunting Party by Lucy Foley around this time last year. It was Agatha Christie-esque in basically like a closed room murder scenario, and I also really enjoyed that both of these books are written in like dual timelines, so it's like the time leading up to the murder and the time after the murder, where you know there's been a death and there's a body, but you don't know who, and you don't know who did it or anything, and everything leading up to that is just like, what's going on? And I really like that setup, and I hope that Lucy Foley brings out more books in the future. After that, The Mask Falling by Samantha Shannon. I was kind of a latecomer to a Frolic Through Fiction's Bonathon read-along that she was doing, because she loves the Bone season, and so before that, basically I'd never heard of it, and raced through like the first 3 books to get aligned for the Mask Falling release, which was in late January, so I had that pre-ordered, and I got it and I read it. And once the series is over, I am going to have to start from the beginning and read it all, and maybe take my time with it a little bit more, because this is just a me and fantasy thing. I understood about 70% of it, and I was lost for the rest of it, and so I think I need to go back and look at some things a little bit more. Next, I listened to the audiobook of The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, and it was the, I think, 10th anniversary edition of it, and it seems like forever ago because I read it at the very beginning of February, but I mean, I did really enjoy that. It was very informative. Obviously, it was not like a happy book, but it was sad and infuriating, but informative, and I am grateful that Michelle Alexander took the time to write it. Next up is The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, and you've probably seen this like hyped everywhere on YouTube and Instagram and book Twitter, and for good reason. I rated this 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's about 2 identical twins who are Black but very light-skinned, and one of them lives her adult life passing as a white woman, and the other one lives her life in the Black community that she grew up in, and they both have daughters. It goes back and forth in time, and at some point the daughters meet and have an interesting relationship, and I will leave it at that. And move on to the next one, which is The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates. and he's the author of Between the World and Me, which I read last year and also really enjoyed. I really enjoyed The Water Dancer. I think that the writing in it was beautiful and moving and touching in a lot of ways. I will have to read this again. I don't think, for me, audiobook was the way to experience this book, because I didn't understand some of it, and some of it's just, that's just me. I'm not really an auditory learner. I do love audiobooks, but sometimes I need to pay attention with my eyes to really get something, and that is, I think, the case with The Water Dancer. So I will definitely be rereading that. And then my last book is Violetta Among the Stars by Dulce Maria Cardoso. And this is a story about a troubled woman who overturns her car after, I think, driving drunk, and her life flashes before her eyes. And I thought this was going to be something along the lines of 10 minutes, 38 seconds in this strange world. And it really wasn't. It was a stream of consciousness book, which, as a general rule, I don't enjoy stream of consciousness. I did like Little Scratch by Rebecca something. Didn't really enjoy this one at all. It just didn't click with me, and I had a really hard time following it. So I can't actually tell you what parts of her life flashed before her eyes, because I've already forgotten everything. And if you watched my eArcs reading vlog, you already know that. So that is it. I will be making my March TBR video soon, hopefully, and I will see you then. So in the meantime, you can look at the description box below, where you can have all the links to my social media. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and look at my book reviews on Medium, and I will see you next time. Bye.